Hey everyone, so I am back to discuss episode 3, and let me just say that out of the 3 episodes that we've already seen, this was the best one so far. I don't know if you can see it, but I tried to put on the circle rune, and I kept touching it, so it's like smudged. But okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into my thoughts for this 3rd episode. So the first thing that we get is Jace and Alec and Izzy and Clary, and they're walking back into the Institute. And the first thing that I thought, I'm like, dang, squad. And one thing that I noticed with this first scene is that I really liked Kat's acting a lot better. I feel like as of now, all of the characters are getting more comfortable with their characters, and it's really showing on screen. So can you imagine, like, a few episodes down the road, can you imagine the finale? I'm just gonna, okay, so then right after that scene, we go to a scene with Simon, and it's the one that we saw in the sneak peek last week, and it's when he's in that, like, crypt, it looked like, and I don't know why, he looked really funny when he was peering through that, like, cross thing, and I don't know why his face just looked really funny to me. Okay, and then with this scene with Simon, this is the first time that we get to see Raphael. Well, not the first time, but the first time in this episode, and the first time we get like an actual like full bodied, and he has like more lines of Raphael, and he looks so good. I am seriously loving David Castro as Raphael. I think he's gonna do an amazing job, and he already was with this episode. He did so good. I loved it. Okay, so then right after that, after Raphael like attacks the camera, we go back to the Institute, and we're talking with, you know, Jason, Clary, and whatever, and it was really funny because they're talking about the downworlders. I was talking really fast there, and Clary's like, oh yeah, silly, like what is that? And so they explain that, and Alec is like, oh yeah, looking at Izzy, that we all have our things with, you know, whomever, and she's like, oh yeah, we all have our things, don't we? And it was so funny because he was looking at her and smiling, and as soon as she said that, he just like, that's not funny. I thought it was so funny that he just like stopped smiling right after she said that. Okay, so then we cut back to the part with David, or Raphael and Simon, and they're back in this like lair with like these gold couches, and everything's looking very extravagant, and so Simon is walking around, and he's like playing with everything. Oh, and then there was a Caravaggio painting in the back of on the wall, and I really I like that painting, and I noticed that right away. So my 1 year of AP art history really pulled through this episode. Okay, and then that was another thing that I wanted to talk about, is when Simon gets that knife and he, you know, throws it at Raphael, and he does it with such precision, and it goes right into his arm. I'm like, that's okay. First of all, Simon is not that. He's very clumsy. He would not be able to just throw a knife into somebody. It would have been funnier, and I felt like it would have been a lot more realistic to Simon's character if he were to throw that and like just completely miss Raphael. It would have had the same effect that he like tried to hurt him, but it just would have been better with his character if he like completely missed and Raphael was like, oh really, and like went after him. So I thought that was interesting that they decided to actually have him throw a knife like a professional and hit Raphael. Okay, and then another thing I want to talk about with these vampires. So Camille finally comes in, and she is I forgot the actor who's playing her. I really liked this actor as Camille. I feel like she's going to do a good job with Camille's character. But the one thing that I was just nitpicky with was the makeup of these vampires. You couldn't really see it with the other vampires that were in the show, but with David and or Raphael, Camille, they looked really, really white. And I don't remember if they're supposed to look very white. I mean, they are dead, technically. But it was just like a little over the top white for me. And since David and then the actress, they're kind of darker, so it like made it look even weirder. But yeah, Raphael looked good in that first scene that we get with him, but then when he came back into that layer with Camille, their makeup was just really white, and it was just really, it was off-putting for me. Alright, so the next scene that we get is the scene in this cemetery. So when we go to the cemetery, and then Jace, or Alec pulls Jace aside and was like, oh yeah, something about how you need to get laid, or that's why. I was like, dang, Alec, jeez. And so right after that, after they like talk for a minute, they go to the thing that Clary found, the crypt thing, you know what I'm talking about. And Jace, he's like, oh yeah, abracadabra. Clary's like, huh, you guys really say that? He's like, no, Clary, we don't. I was like, that's funny. I like that. Okay, and then they open it, and I thought it was kind of cute. It was like kind of like a little kid when Alec was like, well, there's no bow. and I need one. And the way he said that was kind of like he was a little kid, so he was like pouting because there was no bow. Okay, and then maybe one of my favorite parts of this episode is where Jace and Alec are talking, and Alec is just reminding Jace about their parabatiness. And when he said that, I was like, oh my god, yes. And he's like, yeah, that we're parabatai, and it's like, I basically reminding him that they're not enemies here. Alec is not going to do anything to betray Jace or to make him mad on purpose. Like, if he's mad because of Clary, it's because he feels threatened more than because of how he feels for Jace. And that totally makes sense, because Clary, to Jace, to Alec anyways, is somebody who is a threat because she doesn't know what she's doing. And, you know, just all the stuff with Alec and Clary. And then Jace continues to, a little bit after that, he explains the parabatai bond to Clary, and how he's like, oh yeah, that there's no bond greater than what me and Alec have. I was like, oh my god, yes, they're explaining it. Okay, and as soon as he said that, my mind immediately went to the part in Clockwork Princess where Will comes out of that like tavern place that he was staying at towards the very end, and he just comes out and they describe him feeling like this rip in his heart. And I remember reading that right here in this position when he feels that like connection break, and I'm just like, oh god, it just flashbacks. Okay, and then right before we go, like, move on, we have the little clay scene with Clary and Jace, and he's teaching her how to use the Seraph blade. And I thought that was an awesome clay scene because there was a lot of like tension in between them, and that was wonderful. And I also liked all the sound effects that they put on the sword, like when they were like moving it around, when she was like boom, and then they're like boom. I thought that was kind of cool. Okay, so the next scene after that is we go back to Simon a little bit, and one thing that I noticed is that when he's talking to Camille and Raphael, and then Camille does like doom or whatever, and like Simon stops talking, like she stops time for him, and I don't think that was in the books, but that's an interesting addition that they put into the show. So I wonder if they're showing that now because they're going to utilize that sometime in the future. So I don't know what that was all about. I really liked how they talked about Simon's Jewishness, and also how he's like, oh yeah, you guys can say God, right? And Raphael was like, oh, for God's sake, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, they included it. And Simon was so funny. He's like, I will pay for all of that. And I'm like, Simon, that's not what they want, sweetheart. Okay. So then, right after that part, we get to the Izzy and Meliorn scene, and I saw something on Tumblr yesterday or Tuesday or whenever, and they're like, oh yeah, that ABC family is not really ABC family anymore, and I was like, no, it isn't. Okay, so then Izzy walks into Meliorn's like tent. I don't know where that was, but they're like talking for a second, and then I literally laughed out loud, not because it was funny, but because, okay, when Izzy says, oh yeah, that the only thing that I have to do is you, I laughed out that. I'm like, that was so straightforward. Thought it was an interesting, like, how they were, it wasn't banter between them, but they were like having a power play with each other. Like, she was trying to get something out of him, and he was trying to get something out of her, and it was an interesting relationship that these two have. And dude, I'm not even gonna lie, but Emerald, Izzy, whatever, she's pretty hot. Like, she has, like, just like all the guys, how they all had to work out together, she's pretty fit. She looked good. Oh, and it was so adorable because on Tuesday, Emerald and Kat were doing a Periscope video live, whatever, and I happened to be home and it was on, so that was cool. And so I was watching it, and Emerald was saying that she was so nervous to do that scene, and it was like a closed set apparently, and she's like, yeah, I don't want my mom or dad to see that. And I was like, oh, that's really cute. It's really funny because Emerald seems like she's really shy and like a closed person in real life, but like in the show she's the complete opposite, and I just think that's hilarious. Okay, so then we go back to the Institute, and it's with Alec and Hodge, and Alec is like, I really like that scene where he's like putting a stele on the bows. I thought that was kind of cool. And then Hodge comes in, and poor Alec, he just like he's so tall, or Matt is so tall, but like he plays Alec like very clumsy, and I think that is just adorable because as soon as Hodge came out, Alec got his stuff. He's like, oh, hey, what's up, man? Okay, so going back to more with Hodge, so he comes up and he's talking to Alec, and I thought it was really funny. I like said ow out loud when he like smacks him on the neck. I was like, that was hard. And another thing that I noticed, that this just might be me swooning over Matt Daddario, but he has like really pretty light brown eyes, and I just really like that because I don't know what you're gonna see. My eyes are like black. I have the darkest eyes, which is weird because my mom has like really light eyes. Yeah, anyways, I just went off on a random tangent. Anyways, so I'm watching the scene and I went on Tumblr after and I was talking to someone and I completely forgot about what Hodge does at the end of City of Bones. I completely forgot about that. And so now I'm watching this with a whole new perspective, knowing what Hodge is going to do, and I'm just very excited for that because I want to see the Lightwoods and Jace's faces when that happens, because that's just going to be super dramatic and exciting. Okay, so then right after that, Hodge like walks off. He kind of like lets him go, and so then we go to Jason Clary and they go to that hardtail. Hello there. Okay. Alright, so then I guess he's going to sit here with us for a minute. So moving on. Okay, or bye. I really liked that scene with Jason Clary in Hardtail, whatever that place was. I don't remember if that was in the books. I remember that the whole motorcycle thing was in the books, and I was really excited to see that, but I will get to that in a second. Okay, and I really liked Kat's acting during this scene. I feel like she did a really, it was really believable when she was under that encanto that vampire was doing. And I don't know why I really liked the way she said, when he was talking to her and she's like, oh, thank you. And she didn't really move her mouth. I just thought that was funny and I liked watching that. Ooh, and I really liked it, right after that. I remember seeing this in like behind the scenes. I don't know how long ago, but, Jace, punches the vampire and then he like falls back and then the keys come up and he grabs it and I was like, dang, Jace, you're cool. So yeah, I really like that they included the scene with Clary and Jace on the motorcycle because that was something right out of the book, and I'm just really happy that they included that because, like I said, that's something right out of the books. And how they showed how they had them have a whole moment on the motorcycle when they're both laughing and smiling on there, and it was just, I loved it. Okay, and so then right after that, we keep cutting back to Camille and Simon, and the whole time, every time we come back, they're like making out, or they're doing something, or Camille is like, I'm like, it's enough, stop. Okay, and then I saw something else on Tumblr yesterday, and they don't, because we know that Simon is like, gonna be a vampire, and so I don't know what that was. And so they didn't really, they were hinting because they were like making out with each other on their necks, and so I really hope that they keep the sire bond between Raphael and Simon because I want to see more of Raphael. I don't really care too much about Camille, but she's gonna be around regardless, but I really want them to keep the sire bond between Raphael and Simon, and I don't think they're not going to, but I want them to do that. Okay, and then another thing that I noticed throughout this episode and throughout all the episodes so far is how Jace is not really treating Clary as if she's like a little girl. He's like in today's episode, for example, how he was putting on the runes on her right here and right on one of these arms, and how she's like flinching from the pain, but he keeps going because he knows that she, you know, is strong and that she can take it and that she's a shadow hunter and that she will be fine with these runes. And so I like how he's not treating her like she is fragile or that like she's gonna break. Yeah, and then so he finishes doing that and then he's like, hey, come on, let's go. And so I really like how they're not treating it like as if Jace is like the big strong male who needs to take care of his like weak little girl. Like they're not doing that. They're like a team, and I really like that. And another thing that I wanted to just mention, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but that I feel like Jace has Dean stubble, like Dean Winchester stubble. You know how he is in Supernatural, where it's like just like as if you try to shave, but it's like there's still stuff there. I don't know. There's just something I noticed. I like that. Okay, then another one of my favorite parts between the Lightwoods is when they're both fighting the vampires, and how we got to see Isabel's. I mean, we got to see it in the first episode a little bit, but it was close. It was closer up to her arm so that we could see it better. Of Izzy's snake bracelet thing and how it like unraveled and came out, and she like. Whoosh. That was cool. Alec with his bow. And so we got to see Alec with his bow for the first time. And Matt did a good job with that. And how he's like, oh yeah, this was fun. Also, and then also just a comment on how the actual vampires died. I thought it was a very, it was cool. I liked it. But I thought it was very Blade. I don't know if you've seen that movie, Blade the Vampire Slayer with, I don't even know who forget who was in it, but the way that those vampires die in that movie and how they like basically explode into like a fireball, and so it just reminded me of that. Oh, and another thing I remembered, that I think this was the episode where Dom like hurt himself and he was on crutches for a while, back when they were filming the episode, because I remembered Dom talking about that in an interview, I think. I am so impressed and I'm so happy with Clary, and she is just so awesome. Like the way she's fighting, she's very confident in the way that she's like fighting. And I know some people were saying like, oh, that she's like too confident right now and she's too like she knows what she's doing too much. I'm like, well, what the heck do you want her to do? She's not gonna just sit back and do nothing. Like obviously she's gonna try to fight, and like this is in her. She's a shadow hunter. This is who she is, like Izzy told her. And so like obviously she'd be just naturally kind of good at this stuff. And then when Clary and Jace are like being attacked by these vampires, and the entire time of the scene I'm just like, Alec, Izzy, where are you guys? And then they come out and that vampire grabs Clary and Alec comes out with his bow and he's like, okay, and he shoots the wall, and then the light comes in and destroys that vampire. Dude, and then right after that, when they're going to finally get Simon, how Raphael's holding him, and they are walking all out, you know, like the one picture, the one like squad picture that they gave us, and they have them walking in slow motion. I was like, dang, I want to be part of that squad. That they look so cool. Okay, so then finally we get to where they have to save Simon, and so Raphael is grabbing him, and then he's like, oh, all of you get out. And what's it called, so one thing I liked and I noticed is all the little things that they're putting in there for like the book fans, and how Alec was the first person to walk first, because Alec, as we all know, is the oldest one out of all of these people, and he is like the mom of the group. He is the biggest protector of all of them, because Jace is like the worst one, always getting into trouble. Izzy, not as bad, but she does too. And so Alec is always the one who needs to like clean up their messes, and he is just the big mama bear to all of them. So I liked how they made him be the one to go first. So last night I was reading City of Bones just to see how far I could get to this part that happened in the show last night, and I was reading it and I was like reminded of all of how different the show and the book are. And that's not a complaint. I adore both of them equally, and I feel like the book is its own like masterpiece, if you will, and the show is also amazing, but in its own special way. And I keep saying this about how the book and the show are different, but I don't know, I'm really liking them as separate things. Like obviously the show needs to get from A to B like the book does, but I'm really enjoying what they're doing with the show so far. I'm really loving the changes, and it's just bringing the story to a whole new light and life, and whatever word you will take. But I'm liking it. Right, so then when they finally get out and Simon's like, I don't know how to thank you. And I don't remember, I couldn't find it in the book, and I don't remember if that was in the book, because they do it differently. They're doing it differently in the show, because you remember in the book where first off they go to Magnus's party, and then that's where Simon he drinks something and he gets turned into a rat, and then they have to go find Simon as a rat in the Hotel du Mort, and then whatever happens after that. So they're doing it differently in the show, and it's flowing really nicely in the show, and I'm really liking it. All right, so then Simon is saved. They finally get out of the Hotel du Mort, and it's like it's like 6-7 o'clock in the morning probably, and so we have Simon and Clary's little reunion, and you can just tell I love Alberto as Simon so much, not only because of the obvious and just everything, but the way he's a very good actor as well. And in that reunion scene, you could just tell with like the body language and the way he was looking at her that he loves her so much. And I also like the song that they were playing during this last scene, the soundtrack. I don't know what song it was, but I liked it. Okay, so then after we have our little Clary and Simon reunion, we go to Alec and Jason. They're on top of those stairs or whatever, and then they start fighting. I was like, no, stop fighting. What is happening to my voice? And then Jace yelled at him, like he straight up yelled at him, and Alec, you could see he like flinched a little. Well, he didn't like flinch, but he like shut up really fast, and I was just like, no, love each other, please. Okay, and then the very last few seconds of the episode, we have like the longing stare between Jace and Clary, but then we have Simon, and he's standing there, and he's looking at Clary's neck as she's like looking up at him, and she has the vein coming out right here, and so they were like they were implying that he wants some of that blood. And so I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do the vampire thing already. So I am so ready for Vampire Simon. Oh my goodness. So then that was the end of that episode, and it was amazing. I loved it so much. Okay, and just a little bit of side comments here. One thing that I'm really liking so far is how everybody's acting, and I feel like Dom is doing a really good job with showing Jace's anger, just in a lot of the ways that Dom is like saying Jace's lines, and how he will do that thing with his mouth where he's just like he'll that was a bad representation, but you know what I mean, how he's doing that with his face and stuff, and so you can tell that he has anger, and I'm like so excited to see more of Jace and Clary, and for Clary to just break him down, and for him to just love, and I'm just very excited for that. And then more with the actors and how they're showing their emotion. I am very excited with how they're all portraying their characters, because can you imagine when we get to like later seasons, hopefully, later episodes where they actually have to do really emotional stuff, like when the big secret is revealed, or like with Max. Oh my god, and did you guys see the promo pictures for episode 6? I'm not even gonna go into great detail because I can talk about that for another like 30 minutes, but oh my god, the Malik, you guys, the Malik. We're gonna get Malik next week. Next week it's going down, and so I'm like beyond excited for that. So before I continue talking for I don't know how long, I'm just gonna stop it right here because this video is probably already like over 20 minutes long, as they always are. But thank you all so much for watching. I am so happy that you guys like my videos and are watching them, which is crazy to me. Please leave all your comments down below as per usual, so we can have our discussions about this episode and the promo pics and whatever you want to talk about. I love having my little comment discussions with all of you guys down there. So please leave all your comments, like I said, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!